Yo, yo, yo. Welcome to NS9 Live. I'm your host, Anthony DiNardo. With me, we have Jim. We have Tyler. And you know what? Join us tonight. We got a special guest. Not new to the show by any means. Alex Stumpf. What's up, Alex?
Hey, nothing much. Enjoying Shorts life down here.
I was going to say, I think there's a lot going on in your life right now. You're in Bradenton, Florida, spring training. Like, you should be enjoying yourself.
Okay, besides all that stuff, not a lot's going on.
It is currently 17 degrees. Feels like 12. I walked in this office to start this show, and I was wearing a t-shirt. And then I was like, yeah, it's way too cold for that. So I put on a hoodie, and I've got a space heater running. So it's not as warm as Florida, that's for sure.
It is 71 down here. It feels like 76. With good air quality. So we're just thriving down here.
Unbelievable.
16 here, and I am freezing, man. Like,
It's
I'm
cold.
miserable right now.
Yeah.
I've never been looking more forward to like going to Florida in my life. It's so damn cold.
I'm done, man. I said that tonight. Like, I'm so tapped out of this. They teased us with that little warmth and then went right back to hell.
That's true. And you know what? It's that damn Groundhog's fault.
It is.
Hey, no slandering the
No.
Groundhog.
We're slandering Phil on this show. This is all Phil's fault. Spring was around the corner. It was in the 60s like 3 weeks ago. And then all of a sudden this happens. It's that Groundhog. Someone needs to do something about that Groundhog.
Don't drive angry. Don't drive angry.
I'm just saying, like, if someone, what was the quote that the president sent out the other day? It's not breaking the laws if it's saving your country, something to that effect. That's Phil. We need to do that with Phil.
Agree.
Just move to better climates. That's all I got to say. Though it's 54 degrees right now. So I'm also looking forward to going a little bit more south to Bradenton. But either way, you're there. You're enjoying your time, I'm sure. It's been now, a week since pitches and catches reported. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it has been. I'm fully ready for games, though, at this point. And I think if you're a pitcher, you probably are. If you're a hitter, you probably want a few more live BPs beforehand. But yeah, we got a pretty good swing. Got at least a taste test of pretty much everyone in camp. A lot to talk about.
For sure. That's why I brought you on, the expert, Alex Stumpf. So I'll tell you what, before we go any further, the biggest betting, this is old.
You miss a week and you're just a mess. Your camera doesn't work. You've got the wrong ad read. Like, I don't know how,
Jim.
I don't know how this show survived when you were here. I mean, it was performing great, when you were gone.
I do take
have
1 week
the
off.
ad read? I mean, I can pull it up in 3 seconds.
I was going to say, I have it in front of me, too.
Here we go. All right. Bet Online. Guys, it's the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting in 2025. Whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, Bet Online is your ultimate game day companion with the largest selection of odds on everything from NBA and college basketball to the NHL and UFC. Bet Online continues to be your number one sports betting source. From every three-pointer to hat trick, Bet Online has you covered with odds, stats, and more for every game, every play, and every win. Bet Online, the game starts here.
It's weird, Jim. We had the same ad read up. Weird.
Thanks, guys.
Nice to know two of you guys are professionals.
Right.
But that's exactly what I was going to say.
Hey,
So
2 out of
thank you
3
for
ain't bad.
But like I said, we have Alex on the show because we are a bunch of idiots, clearly. So we're bringing on the expert to talk to us, let you all know what's happening down there in Bradenton. But no, I mean, for real, you already talked about how you're enjoying it, the air quality, the warm, and all that. Let's talk about a little bit of the nitty gritty. So like I said, it's been a week. Pitchers are there. This is the time of the year that we're all optimistic. This is the time of the year where everyone's in the best shape of their life. This is the time of the year where this guy's coming in with this pitch, that guy's coming with that pitch. So, like, it's now been a week. Tell us what we want to hear, Alex. Who's in the best shape of their life to begin with? That's what I want to know.
I don't know if it counts as the best shape of his life, but Bryan Hayes is in a lot better shape than he was at the end of 2024. Look, the back is this is gonna be a year-long, monitoring. It's maybe for the rest of his Pirates career that we're always going to have one eye on his back, but he really is moving around better. The two-handed swing, I think, is going to do a lot of good for, keeping himself at a better place from a maintenance standpoint. If he swings and misses on a pitch low and away with two hands on the bat, he's not going to twist as far as he would if it's a one-handed swing. I think little things like that are going to help him stay on the field more in 2025 than he did in 2024. More importantly, maybe not more importantly, but what really strikes me is I don't know how many times I saw him smile all of last year, and I think he's smiled more in camp already than he did all of last season. So he seems to be in a lot better of a place physically, mentally. Big year, obviously, for him. Pirates are putting a lot of emphasis on a lot of, eggs in that basket this year.
Well, I mean, you just think like how good was he the second half of 2023? And not even asking for that again to be replicated over a full season, but like you saw what like a good Bryan Hayes could look like, and we hadn't seen that really since 2020 when he got called up, and everything was clicking. He was hitting the ball, he was playing great defense, and for 2 to 3 months of 2023, like there was an argument to be made he was the best player in the National League, like for like a 90-day period. Yeah, so I mean he's really important, and I don't want to say I've written him off, but I have gotten to the point where like I don't expect anything from Bryan Hayes anymore. Like I've been tricked into this too many times. It's like the boy who cried wolf. Like I've gone into too many spring trainings hearing Bryan Hayes is in a good spot. His swing looks great. He plays all of his spring training games. He's crushing the ball. He's pulling the ball. He's hitting it in the air. And then the season comes around and I just get disappointed. I've been disappointed every season basically since 2021 when it comes to Bryan Hayes. So yeah, I'm not getting fooled, Alex. Like I hope for the best, but like, yeah, I can't expect anything from him. If you get anything from him, it's a bonus in my book. Now I hope he's good, but I can't expect it at this point.
No, I get that, and Lord knows I've written plenty of those articles about those swing changes, what he's done year to year, why 2022 might be different than 21, why 23 might be different than 22. There's a lot. This is probably the year for him. If he has another year where the back is just cranky the whole time, he doesn't produce as a hitter, he can't stay on the field, then I'll agree. That's probably who Bryan Hayes is, as a player going forward. But he really revamped the program to rehab, to build up for this year. Pirates sound like they're going to be a lot more mindful. It's also very achievable. Like if he hits like 15 home runs and has an OPS that starts with a 7, that's like a 4-WAR player right there. That's not out of the realm of possibility for him this year. So I get why there's pessimism around him. I'm a little more bullish on him this year. And, if it really hits the fan, you've got like the Timu version of Bryan Hayes and Jared Triolo waiting in the wings, as a glove first, third baseman. He even has a real gold glove, not even a Timu one.
That's kind of a good way of putting it. Like,
yeah,
he's Bryan Hayes light. If Bryan Hayes isn't himself.
Mm-hmm.
Do I have to be the wet blanket here?
I thought I was.
You love to be.
I basically just tee you up to be the wet blanket.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and like grab that blanket, dump it in the washer, and not dry it. But Man, the guy has his family just trashing the organization on Twitter constantly. They're in his ear constantly. He's never really put it together for a full season. I know Jim, I'm in the same boat as Jim. Like, I've been fooled on this many times. I buy into it. It doesn't work. I do think maybe this year might be different. Maybe I'm just delusional again. But like inside, I know it's not going to be different. The guy has a bad back, it seems like. He's missed enough time that's very apparent. His family trashes the organization on Twitter constantly. You say he smiles, but I don't know, man. Maybe he just doesn't feel the pressure of being the cornerstone of this franchise anymore, because really he's not. And maybe that helps a little bit, but at the same time, if I have to go home to hear Dad and my brother talk about how terrible everybody in this organization is, I'd probably think the same thing eventually.
Well, I'll agree with he's probably not the face of the franchise anymore, and that's one less thing that's not on his shoulders, which, hey, less things on your shoulders has to be good for your back, right? So
I knew that was coming.
Yeah. So it's
Nice.
I get the mean tweets and being annoyed at that if you're a fan, but he's his own man. That's all I can offer for that. And then I'm sorry to Jared Triolo. That was a hell of a stray that he caught out of nowhere there.
That is Triolo did catch a pretty big stray there.
Sitting there like 50 Cent.
Yeah, I mean the family stuff is just whatever to me. It's just, and listen, I want Bryan Hayes to be good so bad. I love Bryan Hayes. Like he's one of my favorite players on this team. He's been in the organization for a decade now. We've kind of seen him go through the entire process up to this point. He's only 28 years old, so by all accounts, like he should be entering the prime of his career. And so, yeah, like I want it all to come together for him. And hopefully this is the year it happens. I thought last year was going to be that year, and the injury bug just was too much to handle, and it was just a dreadful season for him all around. So he needs to stay on the field. He needs to stay healthy, and he's got to go back to hitting like he was in at least 2022 and 2021, which when he still wasn't a good hitter, but it was good enough that he was a productive player. But like if you can get back to that second half 2023, or just glimpses of it at times, that can be so helpful to this team. Because like you said, like he's not the guy anymore. Like Bryan Hayes isn't going to be the number 5 hitter on this team. He's not going to be the number 3 hitter on this team. He's going to be like the 7, 8, 9 guy, one of those players. So like take the pressure off, go out there, play ball, and who knows what could happen if he's healthy. I said, but like at this point, I got to see it.
And yeah, I mean, that's the right approach for it. You got to see it to believe it at this. And it's not something that we're going to see, just through spring training. It's going to be April and May and September and 2026 and so on and so forth until that contract it reaches a conclusion. So I get it. I'm just saying I came in here with a pretty open mind of, could this be really good? Could this be really bad? And one weekend I'm on the, okay, it looks a lot better camp.
Can I ask you if you've ever been on that camp before, though, real quick?
Oh,
there we go.
A bit, yeah. I've been probably more bullish on Bryan Hayes than most for a lot of stuff, but I cannot stress enough how miserable this guy looked through a lot of 2024, and how much a smile just walking around the ballpark could mean a lot.
Yeah, I mean, when you're slugging 290,
whatever you're slugging
most of the time.
When you're slugging 290 and you feel like crap, I get why you don't want to be, Mr. Chuckles. So
no,
right,
makes sense.
Yep. I just truly think it all comes down to health, because even with Tyler throwing the wet blanket, I mean, we know what he can do as long as he's just mostly healthy. Last year, I just felt like the back was just so much to overcome, and he did. He only played 96 games, albeit 124 and 136 before that. Like, it's not like he gets through a season fully healthy any year, right? But like, he tends to be able to squeak out a 3-word season. Like, I forget where it was the comments. It just seemed like last year the back, I mean, it was like not only the offense, but defensively, it just hindered him so much. I mean, it was like one of the worst defensive seasons he had, which still was really good, right? We're talking about Brian Hayes, but that's why I say like the back just seems like the biggest thing for him. If he can be actually somewhat healthy this year, which the smiles, maybe it's an indication that's a little bit better than last year. We'll wait and see. Again, like he can be a 2-war player in his sleep, just as long as he has a back to allow him to. So yeah, I just think the biggest thing, like I'm over will Brian Hayes be a 4-war player? Will he be a 5-war player because that bat gets unlocked? You know what? Just give me a healthy bat. Just be the 2 to 3-war player. I'll be comfortable with that.
And honest, not to be negative here, but how many positions can you realistically expect 2 or 3 WAR out of? From the lineup necessarily. I mean, Reynolds will put it up. Cruz will put it up. After that, I don't think there's a slam dunk in the group. Like, yeah, I think Nick Gonzalez will. I wouldn't be surprised if Joey Bart does it again, or whatever. But like, there are 2 slam dunks from me on this team. So at least as hitters go. Pitchers,
yeah.
There's like 4. So,
but good point. Okay. So we know who is in the best shape of their life. We've heard about Skeen's 2 pitches, right? He's adding. We've talked about a little bit. And maybe I'm missing out. I was gone for a week, if you guys don't remember. But I'm interested in Jared Jones. I want to ask you about Jared Jones as well, because he's tinkering with some pitches. One, I guess he's not even like revealing yet what it is. How is Jared looking?
I was a little concerned with the first bullpen. The first live batting practice went a lot better. That pitch, I don't know if this is the pitch that we're not saying. It's a 2-seamer.
Yeah, he's throwing a 2-seamer.
Yeah, we want to.
Yeah, but I heard. I think he was talking to Hannah the other day, or it was on Pirates, where he has another pitch that he's not even throwing to his first game. I heard.
All right, well, that's gonna be fun to watch.
I don't know that. I know the sinker.
He's not revealing what it is. Yeah. He didn't give any insight on what it is. He just says it's. I think it's to hit. I think it's to attack righties. He said.
Jared Jones with a knuckleball. Let's go.
Let's do it.
I could speculate on.
Also, shout out to Penn. The $2 super. He expects a 3+ WAR from Jared Triolo. It's time.
Hey, if he gets 140 games, he could do that.
I mean, he easily could.
But yeah, I was. My eyebrow rose for the first live. He looked a lot better the second time. I also get that these are the backfields of Pirate City. We gotta see him at least in a game setting, because that's Grapefruit League is where we found out, oh my God, Jared Jones is for real last year. So obviously there's a lot riding on this starting rotation in general. He's a big part of that. He's someone who I think could take a big step in 2025. If he could have a reliable third pitch that's not, going in or out like we saw last year with the curveball and the changeup. I could also see where maybe he hits a bit of a wall because he is young and he did grow, exponentially last year. And it's not out of the reason or out of the realm of possibility that you regress as a player after something like that. It's the full spectrum of what you expect from a sophomore season. I want to see how he looks in games, because I don't know how much you can take from the backfields anymore.
Which pitch would you scrap if you were in charge of Jared Jones? Would it be the curveball or the changeup or both? Because I would scrap both.
I would like to see him throw a cutter in general. Maybe that's the
do I have to hear another freaking cutter talk?
No, I mean, just follow the Luis Ortiz game plan of fastball, slider, and cutter as an off-speed pitch, a chase pitch, whatever you need it to be type of deal. I think that would do well for him. Pure speculation.
And
extra pitch.
I'm not cutting either of those pitches. I think you just got to throw them better. Jared Jones needs that changeup. Like he needs that against lefties. It just needs to get better. Like he just needs to throw it. He needs to throw it more effectively, throw it where he wants, when he wants. The curveball last year, the problem he had there was it was kept up in the zone too much and it got hit. But I like the shape of his curveball and that he throws it really hard. It's got that downward movement to it. Yeah, I don't think he necessarily needs to scrap anything. I just think he's a 22-year-old who needs to maybe just command his pitches a little better.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're right. That should have been my answer, that he shouldn't scrap anything at this time. But also, it'd probably be the changeup out of the two. Because I agree with the curveball. I think it's a pitch that he has more feel for. He could get spin on. It could change the sight lines as, kind of like an up-down pitch to go with, the rising fastball and the slider that, runs away. So, yeah, he just needs to have one that he can rely on so he can go into every game that if he doesn't have his fastball or his slider, it's not the end of the world like we saw a couple times last year.
Yep.
Yeah, I do like the curveball, actually. I like the way he uses it to get ahead of hitters sometimes. And the only question I think I would have is like, what? I know his splits are kind of even last year, but I'm still looking for something to get lefties out. I still think he's going to struggle with them. The changeup isn't good enough right now. The curveball it's a get me over pitch. It's not a put away pitch right now. I also think that maybe we get a little bit too crazy as pitchers, where we just try to add pitches instead of just maybe we tweak the grip on the changeup and figure it out there. Like, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. Let's figure out something else here and get rid of lefties. That's my personal opinion, but Jared Jones knows more about pitching than me.
You also have Mitch Keller leading the staff, and he is the patron saint of, well, let's just add a new pitch, see what happens.
Yeah. Very true. Well, Penn sends with a super. Appreciate it, Penn. So I'll ask your question. Does Falter seem to have a legit third pitch now?
The curveball was a legit pitch before he hit the injured list, and whenever he came back, he just didn't have the proper feel for it the rest of the way. I don't know if that's it's a knuckle curve, and he really, really bites into it with his fingernails. It could get rough, and it's one of those. I think it was Oakland last year that he had like a hangnail type deal, and he had to be pulled early. Mm-hmm. He had a game that, if it wasn't Oakland or the Athletics, it was something like that early in the year. Whenever he has that pitch going, it's great, but I can see how there could be volatility with it if the fingers nails maybe not great, how he's gripping it, how he's releasing it, if he's just out of sync a little bit mechanically. But no, like, he dropped in a couple really nasty curveballs in the live BP I saw. It is a quality pitch whenever it's working.
Yeah, I mean, he threw 4 different pitches 14% of the time or more last year. If you want to lump the sinker and the fastball together, those two, those were his 2 best pitches. And I think the reason why you're just going to see that is because the stuff's not great, and we keep hearing about the extension. The hard stuff's just going to play up when it comes to Bailey Falter, and the slower stuff isn't great by any means in terms of from like a pure stuff standpoint, that it's tougher to get hitters out. So I don't think it's a surprise to see that like the slower moving stuff isn't as good as his faster moving stuff, just because of why he's here. But yeah, the curveball split, I mean, he barely threw the splitter last year, but like that curveball, if he can just get more consistent with it, it could definitely help.
It also, he's the type of guy that he's the type of pitcher that just wants to go up there and throw fastballs if he can. So the curveball kind of, you can be aggressive with it, but it's a lot easier to be aggressive with a pitcher with a fastball, and that's the type of pitcher that he wants to be.
Yeah, and I mean it's his best pitch. So
no question.
Throw what works. Mm-hmm. We got to put this up. DiNardo lost in his NCAA football dynasty, so thank you guys for throwing that up there. I want to shift away from pitching.
I can tell why you lost it. Sorry, you can't do an ad read. He can't get the NIL money.
Yeah. Oh, you should have.
It wasn't my fault why I lost.
I was watching it on Twitch. He threw 5 interceptions. He was terrible.
Wow.
But I do want to shift gears here a little bit. I want to talk about Tommy Pham. You know, he arrived this week. He didn't report early. You know, they had to announce the signing basically really before he could report and start practicing. So they announced the signing. He shows up. Not necessarily a signing that any of us on, as part of NS9, none of us were all that thrilled about Tommy Pham coming to the Pirates. I just feel like, you know, they could have done better, and he was an option. He's better than what they had, but you know, barely maybe. But that interview that he had, his first interview with everybody, it was just a really good first impression of Tommy Pham. And as someone who I've only really seen him as an opponent, I've respected the way he's played. He plays the game, you know, crazy hard, and he always seems to be a guy who, you know, beats up on the Pirates. At the same time, like, dude's played on how many teams in the last 5 years? He gets traded constantly. He's been in fights. Like, there's kind of just a reputation that he has. But that interview was just a really good first impression for me. And I want to play just a little bit for everybody. This is just a clip from that interview, and then we can kind of discuss it a little bit after this.
It's me, you know, I have a competitive edge. I'm a pro, and I think a lot of guys, especially this team, is so young. You know, you can learn a lot just from watching it.
You've been a part of a lot of talented teams with good pitching staffs from the outside looking in and just getting started here. Where does this one rank?
I've been spoiled. This team reminds me a lot of Tampa, my early years in Tampa, because it was a young pitching staff over there. We might have only had Charlie Morton, who was the vet, and a lot of people outside of the game they weren't really familiar with the pitching staff, but guys within the league was quite familiar with the stuff, and this team is really close to that.
To join the Bucks, a proud franchise with a lot of history here. Talk a little bit about being here at Pirate City and bringing your game in and joining forces and moving forward.
A ton of history, you're right. The fans are very proud of this team. I remember playing against them early in my career in St. Louis, and it was sold out. And I just remember talking to Wayno, like, man, it's like this here. Then the stadium's beautiful, of course, you know, with the backdrop and everything. There's a lot to like as just a guy in baseball.
So a lot of saying all the right things. Before even going into that, he mentioned, you know, he feels like, you know, the Pirates have been in on him a lot recently, in recent off seasons. He picked the Pirates. He loved the opportunity to hear. But then on top of that, he also talked about, I really liked how he mentioned his fielding analytics. Like, he dove into that too, about how, like, when he went to Kansas City, he started positioning himself better. And you know, when the signing happened, I was like, this dude can't really play defense anymore. But then you look at it, and like, when he went to Kansas City, he was +3 defensive runs, or +3 outs above average. He was pretty good across the board defensively, just changing his position there in the outfield. So I don't know, what was just your impressions on Tommy Pham? Ryan says fan is winning Jim over. I'm not necessarily like all in on Tommy Pham right now, but it was a really good first impression for me. He seemed real knowledgeable about like what it was that he needed to work on. He seemed like he knew what it was going to take for him to just produce better results this year than last year. And, you know, the fact that he's a 10, 11 year veteran doesn't hurt. Like, the guy knows what he's doing. So I don't know. I just wanted to kind of get your thoughts on just your first impressions of Tommy Pham.
My first spring training was 2020. The Pirates signed Gerard Dyson that year. And in his introductory interview, he was asked, why did you choose the Pirates? And he said, quote, "Ain't too much out there right now." That Tommy Pham interview was like the antithesis of that. That was like the complete opposite of that energy, which is what you want to see, 6 years later. But he said pretty much everything that you want to hear. O'Neal, Cruz, and him talked in the Dominican League, and Tommy Pham saying, you got to tell your people to hit me up. We got to make this happen. Tommy Pham talked about, he's got to be on in left field while Cruz is in center. And he's like, I'm going to be one of those guys who helps keep him accountable over the course of this year. It's stuff like that that I think this team needed more of. Kutch was basically the only veteran position player on this team last year. Like, unless you want to count Rowdy, who didn't have 6 years of service time, was younger than someone like Connor Joe even. So, like, they really did not have a lot of veteran leadership on that side. They've had some now. Adam Frazier is someone who has the last 3 years gone to a team that got over the hump and finally made the postseason. I'm not going to say Adam Frazier was the reason why, but he was one of those guys in 3 different clubhouses. That's not completely coincidental. Tommy Pham is one of those guys that I think it's not surprising that you see him on a team like Arizona in 2023, where they really overproduce. You see him on a team in Kansas City to help him get over the hump into the postseason. I think he's a good fit. It could be like an AJ Burnett type situation where this guy has a reputation of maybe being a little bit of a little bit of a certain type of personality, but he holds the people accountable. He plays the game hard. He plays it right. You need those type of guys in a clubhouse. So yeah, I'm not going to say I know Tommy Pham great right now. I've just been part of a couple interviews. I could see why the Pirates targeted this guy.
Yeah, I don't hate anything that you said. I appreciate a Tommy Pham on a baseball team. I'm not opposed to Tommy Pham being on this team. Again, for me, it just comes down to roster construction. He's a good piece, but I just feel like this team has a bunch of pieces and not enough to really make something of the lineup, if that makes sense.
Oh,
but
no,
I mean, like how Jim said, I loved hearing everything he said. This is this is what the Pirates, I feel like, have been missing for the past 3 years. This is the guy I wanted to bring in, the veteran, right? They kind of did that in 2022, I feel, with Troy and Hill, and they did bring back Kutch and such, but this would have been really, really good then, and still to have if there's other pieces that were the main pieces. But again, I did like what I heard from him. I hope that everything he talked about with the defensive metrics and him playing better defense in this left field might come to play and such. But yeah, I don't know.
I cannot stress enough how much I think this clubhouse missed having someone like Carlos Santana, in 2023, and how great a voice he was. And this isn't disparaging Kutch, but he's also just one guy, and he's someone who has been open in the past. I'll lead, but I don't want to be, the rah-rah guy. He doesn't want to be Willie Stargell, for lack of a better way of comparing it in Pirates history. Kutch is really just a regular dude who just happens to be really, 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 really good at baseball, at the end of the day. So I think getting Tommy Pham in that mix, it takes some of that leadership weight off of Kutch's shoulders. Adam Frazier does it also in another extent. Just there are examples for players to follow, and it's not just the Bryan Reynolds and anymore. There's different types of leadership. There's I'm just going to see how you do your job. There's I'm going to say what nobody else is willing to say at this time, but I'll say it because I think we'll be better as a team with this out in the open. You need both of those type of guys.
What about people who tell fans not to boo?
Has enough time passed?
I think so. We're like 10 months in, aren't we? 9 months.
Yeah. that I appreciated what Rowdy was trying to say, and the execution was just really bad. Like
I
he was
understand that-
standing
yeah.
up for a teammate. He was doing the right thing. He was a good teammate, and boy, you should have just chosen your words a little better.
Yeah.
To go back to Pham real quick, you mentioned in your article Shelton talking about him, how it was the guy they targeted, a guy they needed. Can you expand upon that? Were they actively searching for corner outfielders with the veteran experience, or a Tommy Pham type essentially? Or were they leaning more towards a Pham because of the type of, I guess, leadership he may provide rather than an Alex Verdugo, who I think might have some question marks on his resume there?
Yeah, I mean, they definitely checked a lot of guys from a lot of different experiences, opportunity where what is the best fit. Tommy Pham is someone that they wanted in 2023 or 2024 as well. So he was pretty high up on their list of like, what are the traits that we are looking for to add to this team? Okay, we want a corner outfielder. We want a veteran leader. We want someone who could hold people accountable. The unspoken part with this also is if like a Billy Cook or a Nick York or Jack Sawinski, just has a great year, you could probably put him into a platoon or backup role. And it's, fits this team well. Also, he's not going to be blocking those young players who are looking for opportunities. There's just a lot of things that just makes this feel like a good fit for at the time. Now, I don't blame anyone for saying, well, they should have gotten Grichuk. They should have gone after a Tyler O'Neill, shoot for the stars. This is the time to do it. But just the traits that they're looking for, I see why Tommy Pham was one of those guys who was at the top of their list.
Tommy Pham gets 120 games started this year. This team's in bad shape, plain and simple. He's not good enough to play every day.
I'll counter that. If Tommy Pham is playing 120 games, that means he's probably playing pretty well. And if Tommy Pham is,
yeah,
does it?
They've got options. They would go to a Billy Cook or a Nick York or someone. If he plays 50 games, that's whenever something went wrong.
I'm with Alex. Like I think you're in a more like if Pham hits, like he's gonna play, and it's not like he's that far removed from hitting. Like he hit in 2023. He was a good player in 2023. Last year he was not. So is he last year's player? Is he 2023? Is he somewhere in between? My guess is he's probably somewhere in between, and that's better than what we've had. It's still not what you want.
DiNardo, what happened to our outfielder?
No, it's not what you want out of a corner outfielder. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, going out there and acquiring a one WAR corner outfielder isn't, mission accomplished for this offseason. This is who was left. He signed for $4 million. Yeah, he's got a lot of qualities that this team likes, but there were clearly better options available. Otherwise, Tommy Pham wouldn't have signed a 1-year deal for $4 million with the Pittsburgh Pirates. Like that's, at the end of the day, like that's kind of where we're at. But I think if you squint hard enough, you could see Tommy Pham at least having some positive impact to this team. I don't even think you really need to, you don't need to squint that much. Like I think Tommy Pham will have a positive impact to this team compared to what they trotted out last year between Edward Olivares, Jack Sawinski, Bryan De La Cruz, right? Like he's going to do better than those guys performed. But it's just, okay, how good can he be? Can he be 2023 Tommy Pham? If he is, great. It's an excellent signing. Is he 2024 Tommy Pham? Not ideal, but still better than all those guys.
2024 Tommy Pham also was an above average hitter with the White Sox without a spring training.
Yeah.
And then he started bouncing around in new environments and team changes, and the bat went down those last 2 months. The glove, like Jim touched on, he was playing out of position. Is what it was. I think he's going to be somewhere like he's going to be in the 0 to 1 WAR range for a position player with like a average-ish bat somewhere in the 90s or low 100s. But I looked at what they saw with Bryan De La Cruz, for 2 months. And that was Bryan De La Cruz's 2-month stint with the Pirates is up there for the worst full-time players I've seen this team trot out there, in my 5+ years as a full-time beat reporter. Tommy Pham is an upgrade.
I mean, if you remember last year's trade deadline, the PowerPoint I put together, Tommy Pham was on it. Like he wasn't number 1 on the list. He was number 2 on the list, but I think he was like the 3rd option in terms of like a right fielder to acquire at the deadline on my PowerPoint. So like he's been a productive player in the past. And yeah, like I'm not a Tommy Pham believer, but I would have much rather them done something more than Tommy Pham. But like, I don't know, I'm willing to give him a shot. And if it works, it works. Hopefully someone like Sawinski or Billy Cook, one of those guys, also takes a huge step forward this year. So you're not like needing to rely on Tommy Pham. And that kind of goes into Cliff's question here I wanted to bring up. Is left field Tommy Pham's job right now? Like, is there a competition there at all? Like, could Sawinski go in there, have a unreal spring, and win the left field job?
I was told he was signed to be the primary corner outfielder.
Okay.
So that I could speculate if like Sawinski just looks like a monster that they maybe change that playing arrangement, but Tommy Pham is going to get a lot of playing time in left, at least to start the year.
There we
I
go.
will wait until we get back, but as of right now, I would put money on Jack Sawinski having a better year than Tommy Pham. As of right now, let me get down to spring. Let me see it a little bit. But as of right now, I would bet Jack Sawinski has a better year than Tommy Pham. Give it a week. I changed my mind a lot.
You guys are only in the top 4 of Pirates podcasts. How many are out there, man?
Top 4.
I'm not even in the game anymore.
Fit City What says we're top 4. I would hope we're top 4. Jeez.
Banter Boys taking you guys up behind the woodshed.
Yeah. No, like I said, I wanted to talk about Pham quite a bit tonight, just because I feel like we kind of glossed over the signing, we poo-pooed it, and yeah, like it's 4 days of Tommy Pham, 3 days of Tommy Pham, but so far saying all the right things. His comments at least they made me feel better than what you mentioned about like Gerard Dyson. Like he said a lot of good things, and I really like the defensive, like him actually going into the analytics portion, because he was +4 runs defensively at Kansas City. So like he figured out what he was doing wrong, he switched it, and it immediately made an impact when he did it. And so he knows what it takes now to do better in the field.
On the note of the analytics, we've got a contender for quote of the year here.
Oh boy.
He's like, before he started talking about positioning and everything, and I quote, "I know what to do, man. I know this game more than the analytics." All-time quote from it. That is in the running for quote of the year. And then he cited analytics for why he knows why, but
yeah. No, that's great.
Love it. I love that energy. Need more of that. As the analytics nerd, it's one of those, hell yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Shove me in a locker. Let's go.
Well, no, I think Pham's just going to, go ahead.
Oh, no, good.
I was just going to say, like, Tommy Pham's one of those guys where, like, if he's playing well, you love him on your team. You hate him when he's on the opposing team. But I could also see a situation where, like, if he's not playing very well, he's going to be a guy that they're going to get on him. They're going to get on him, and I don't know what the outcome of that'll be, but we saw just kind of how Rowdy was treated for a while, and we had a part in that too. I don't think we were very nice to Rowdy, but or like Austin Hedges, like he needs to get off to a pretty good start, because this signing was not looked upon very pleasantly by the fan base. So like if Tommy Pham doesn't get off to a hot start, like he's gonna hear it. He's gonna hear it quick. Like there's gonna be booze raining down on him in PNC Park if he goes 0-12 against the Yankees.
I think a lot of people are gonna be hearing it if they don't get off to a good start. So that's just the nature of the beast whenever you have Paul Skeens. on your team and you didn't go 500.
So I was alluding to is, speaking of analytics, right? Tommy Pham. So Tommy Pham's going to be playing left field. The previous left fielder was Bryan Reynolds, who was atrocious defensively. So it's been talked about, like, where are they going to go? They can play him at first base this upcoming season. Are they going to keep him left, maybe right field, right? So now we're in camp. Basically, Bryan Reynolds come out saying, I'm preparing for right field. He's going to be right fielder. Tommy Pham's in left. So kind of want your input and your take on this too. We know with Pham, because again, like, he had the bad year last year also. Left field's a beast. Bryan Reynolds making the transition to right field. What's going on with that? What's your thoughts on it?
I mean, you touched on the poor defensive metrics last year. I think Reynolds was kind of weighed down as the season went on. I didn't think he was 100% for really much of the second half of the season. But yeah, it's less ground to cover. He tied for the National League lead in assists. The arm got stronger last year. Why not put him out in right field? Give him an opportunity where he can play at a potentially better depth and see what happens. A lot of his struggles last year were coming in on the ball. So right field at PNC Park is kind of perfect, because if you hit a ball in the air and the right fielder is going back on it, that's just going off the wall or off or over the wall. There's not much you can do with that in general. So I feel like you can put Bryan Reynolds a little shallower in right field, give him an opportunity to let that arm play up a little more and get those balls that were in front of him a little better. Less ground to cover, I think, would serve him well this year. And I think that was really one of the main factors into why the Pirates want to explore this.
Yeah, I think it's a good middle ground as well. I personally feel like, just as an outsider, that he kind of wanted to move to first base. I don't know if that's just me thinking it, but I think part of it is saving the legs for long term. And I think this is a decent middle ground where left field's kind of brutal for you every day, or 81 games a year. That's a lot of running, man. So I think this is a decent middle ground you can have with Bryan Reynolds. And in the future, I'm still plugging on that first base hole. Let's put him there. But I'm good with this right now.
First base could be an option in the future, and I don't think he would hate the idea if they didn't acquire Spencer Horwitz, and at some point in January they were like, Bryan, we could get outfielders, we can't find a first baseman. Are you in? I think he would be down for that. I think he could still be a quality defensive right fielder. Maybe not the Gold Glove nominee like he was in 2021, but that guy, that was 5 years ago. It's not like it was a million years ago.
Well, I think that's what I wanted to talk about. Like, I think with adding Pham, seeing what his numbers are like in left field, like he should be a pretty good left fielder. We should have Bryan Reynolds putting up better defensive metrics in right field, just by just sheer moving from left to right. But then also Cruz in center, like I feel like O'Neal Cruz has all the tools to be a very good center fielder. You made a comment earlier today.
Someone had a hot take
that you think he's going to be in the running for a Gold Glove, and I think that could absolutely be a thing. Like, he's got all the tools. He can run balls down. If he can get good jumps, he's got a good arm. Like, everything that you want to see in a center fielder, O'Neal Cruz has that. Like, he has that tool in his tool belt. So like, all of a sudden, this outfield from a defensive standpoint, I think it's got a pretty high ceiling and a pretty the floor is probably just volatile, kind of depending on really how good is O'Neal Cruz. But like, I think there's a pretty high ceiling on this outfield defensively now.
I'll agree with that. I will also say that the floor, from a theoretical standpoint, is bad, real bad. Yeah. Because if you want to be pessimistic, you have Bryan Reynolds, who is last in outs above average as an outfielder last season. You've got O'Neal Cruz, who is learning this position still, and you've got Tommy Pham, who is 37 years old, I believe. Covering the biggest left field biggest left field notch this side of the Polo Grounds. So I could see why, there's a doomsday scenario here, but no, I think this is a group that has potential defensively. And if you could add a healthy Hayes into the mix, maybe it could be a plus defensive club in general. Because Nick Gonzalez is no slouch. IKF is, I think he could be fine at shortstop. Spencer Horwitz, I think, could be a fine defensive first baseman. You got some catchers. Henry Davis showed he could be a big league catcher. Endy Rodríguez had good framing numbers in 2023. Joey Bart is fine. I feel like with a lot of this team, I see a path to how this could be good. Even on the offense, there's a path to how this could be good. How big is that margin of error? Pitching wise, if they lose someone or two, it could still be a really good rotation. Offense, if you lose a Bryan Reynolds or O'Neal Cruz, I think you're in deep trouble right there. So That's just kind of looking at the 2025 Pirates. How big is the margin of error?
I mean, we did an emergency podcast because Spencer Horwitz got injured, and that's how important he is to this team. Like there's a Spencer Horwitz injury of any sort of magnitude is a pretty big derailment here. So speaking of that, what are the updates since this week? Like when can we expect Spencer Horwitz to appear in a spring training game? Is it possible, or is that just not going to happen? And if so, if not, when Spencer Horwitz going to be game ready?
It's possible we still see him in spring training. Like it's that 6 to 8. Well, I guess we're 2 weeks in to that right now. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that he gets some game actions. He's swinging with just his top hand right now. Spotted him taking some ground ball drills today. So he's semi-active, mostly active, actually, for the most part. So we've got to see. I don't think this is the doomsday scenario that was initially thought maybe like a week ago. I don't see him being out, till Memorial Day or whatever, but opening day I would still say is in question at the moment.
John says over under April 14th.
I think that's a good line, John.
There we go.
So what seems to be the game plan right now? Because I know there's a lot of, there's Derek Hall. It's getting a lot of talk right now. He's in camp, seeing him a little bit here. But they have like a Billy Cook on the team. There's Jared Trollo, who maybe plays first. And what do you think the Pirates' idea right now is to replace him that short term?
Let's see how this camp goes. Like if a Derek Hall has a great camp, you can put him on a roster spot for a short term. If a Billy Cook has a great camp, there you go. A Nick York, Jared Triolo even. Like Triolo is probably, if I had to pick someone at this moment, I would guess him just because he is the utility infielder and an infield spot is open. He could absolutely handle that position defensively. So why not? But I would say it's up for competition right now.
So real quick, I know you guys aren't big hockey guys, but Mike Lang passed away, and I'm sitting here.
I was gonna say that later
That's
on. But
it's like a big part of the childhood.
Yeah.
Regardless, so
that sucks.
we can touch on that later. But
yeah,
Endy Rodríguez, is he being mentioned at all, or part of this first base competition with it being open?
No, they want him to focus on catcher. That was one of my first questions in camp because he has the minor league experience. It was a question of what do you value more right now, having him develop as a catcher or getting him, essentially better chance of major league playing time. And they're going with catcher right now. Not necessarily one answer is better than the other, just where they're leading.
Is there any chance we get maybe like a Joey Bart at first base and Endy behind the plate? Let's get weird.
I'm all on board for getting weird, but Joey
that.
Bart has got to be one of their catchers.
Well, he could play first base whenever Endy's catching.
Yeah, I haven't gotten an update in a while, but this offseason that kind of got shot down, at least for the short term.
What about DJ Stewart? Is he getting any looks there at all, or is he just kind of strictly a corner outfielder right now?
He'll get some looks at first base, I imagine.
Okay,
like Ben Cherington mentioned him whenever he was listing some of the internal options that they have here. I'm
not gonna lie.
He had a solid 2023. Not a bad guy to take an NRI flyer on.
Well, I think when it comes to if you're looking at somebody like I think Triolo is a good option for a couple weeks, but like if you want a lefty who can go in there and you feel good against righties, DJ Stewart actually has pretty good career splits against right-handed pitchers. He is a above average hitter against right-handed pitchers. I'm not saying DJ Stewart is going to be a big contributor to this team, but like if I'm looking at internal options right now and I need somebody to play first base for 2-3 weeks, DJ Stewart is probably my guy against righties, and then Triolo's my guy against lefties or Cook.
And you could Sean Rodríguez it in the 8th, 9th inning and just put Triolo at first base defensively if you have a lead.
Yeah. Stewart hasn't played a ton of first base in the majors, but he has played quite a bit in the minors, especially recently. So I think that's as far as internal options go, that's my opening day first baseman.
I hate every single bit of every ounce of this conversation. Is so stupid. We are talking about Derek Hall and DJ Stewart, man.
Oh, Derek Hall, I do not want Derek Hall on this team.
Derek H. Picking machine.
Stewart, I could live with DJ Stewart at first base for 2 to 3 weeks. It's just 2 to 3 weeks.
Just because it's 2 to 3 weeks, yeah. I mean, it just thinks to this point, there's no real depth. There hasn't been any depth at first base position for how long? It's also why Carlos Santana coming back a couple of years ago and maybe this year made some sense. But yeah, like that's why the emergency podcast was made for the guy who has 425 career plate appearances in Major League Baseball.
Tyler's been paid.
Like, this is so stupid, dude. We're talking about DJ Stewart, Derek Hall, Tommy Pham.
Picking machine.
But I do want to ask, because I mean, this is potentially an option, and Penn does ask it. Does it look like Gorski will get some spring training reps at first? And I think so. Like an option.
Yeah, he's an option right now. I mean, this is a big year for him. I mean, this is kind of actually take away the kind of. This is do it or get off the pot year for him. Like, he has potential. There's an opportunity at first base. He can play first base. Whenever Horwitz comes back, he could easily slide in as a fourth outfielder. Hell, he's right-handed. That could be a decent platoon. Or hell, the days that Spencer Horwitz needs an off day and it's a lefty on the mound, fine, we'll go with Gorski. This is a perfect opportunity for him to take the ball and run. He's just hasn't, for the last couple years. But yes, there is an opportunity right now for him.
I tap out.
If you're making a guess right now, and I think the answer is probably going to be Triolo, since that's what you were saying. But who's the opening day first baseman?
Jared Triolo. I really wanted to say like a DJ Stewart or someone, but no, I'm taking the guy with the minus 105 odds.
You're taking the guy that is way more valuable literally anywhere else.
I mean, he'll play everywhere else. He'll play everywhere else.
I get it. We're talking about a short period of time. My concern here is that if we get into May, Horwitz still isn't healthy. He's got a rehab assignment in May, and we're 2 months in, and we've just rolled with this entire crapshoot for 2 months, and the season's over. That's what's frustrating to me.
If he's not back by May, I think at that point you have to look at the trade market. You got to look at some other way, because you can't do that to Triolo or the whole team. Like, part of this team's construction is Jared Triolo is going to bounce around the infield. And Adam Frazier can do it too, but you need Tree.
Do you think there will be some sort of like push there if something does happen with Horwitz recovery, where we have to get something in here at first base very soon?
They're looking internal right now. It would just be speculation on my part, but they view it as something that this isn't going to be a long-term injury. So why do they need to find another long-term solution? If it turns out that it is more long-term, they have to be open-minded towards looking for a different solution.
And I'm going to add in there, because we might not know Holas. I know Tom's that came out today and talked a little bit. So maybe to touch on that, because you're kind of speculating here. I mean, it's a wrist injury. It's 6 to 8 weeks. We're talking long term, but we know how wrist injuries can linger. Does this look like and maybe sound something as if that could be a situation where he might be back in 8 weeks, or 6 weeks, but it's still affecting him and bothering him, and he's not giving you the best version of himself that he can?
I mean, any wrist injury, you run that risk. Like even someone like Colin Holderman, who was solid for 4 months, one of the better leverage relievers on the team, if not the division, and then the wrist just gave out, and he had just those 10 days from hell. So the wrist is fickle. Even if he comes back and he looks good, there is always that. It's always going to be hanging over his head, I think, for the rest of this season, regardless of how he performs. Is the wrist bothering him? That's why he's struggling. If he's doing well, can the wrist stay healthy? Is this sustainable? Just part of the, reality of 2025 for him.
I mean, that's another part you do have to worry about, though, because wrist, hamate bone, whatever it is, like it could be a few months before he's even remotely close to what we hope he could be, which, again, we don't even know that because the guy hasn't played a full season.
Bingo. I'll hammer that home. Yeah, you're right. Like it's speculative what he could do, as a player. Like he's got 400 something plate appearances on his major league resume. They were overall good numbers, but hell, we could think of a bunch of players that had 400 good at bats.
Jason Rogers was awesome.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was.
Yeah. I mean, Spencer Horwitz has to be good. He has to be good this year or this team's kind of screwed. Like he was the only bat this team acquired. He was it. Like they were like, hey, let's take this team that was 27th in the league in hitting. We're going to add Spencer Horwitz to it. All right. Internal improvements, everybody. Let's make them. And it might work. The offense, again, the offense doesn't have to be elite. It just has to be average. Like, just give us an average offense and an above average pitching staff, and then you're a top 6 team in the National League. That's what you need, right? It's just there. I just wish this offseason had gone better. They just didn't.
Jim just paraded around Tommy Pham for a half hour.
I didn't parade around Tommy Pham,
Alex.
But
did he not parade around Tommy Pham?
I saw a float.
But yeah, to Jim's point, they got to leapfrog 11 teams to get to league average. That's what we're talking about. Like that's what's the frustrating part about this offseason. They have a big opportunity at hand, and that's what they added offensively. So yeah, there's a lot of variability. Like you said though earlier, I mean, I absolutely can see a path that this team is good. Like we've talked about that. Like, could this team win 88 games? Absolutely they can. But that margin of error, right, and the variability of that, just like so much has to go right. And anyways, yeah. So Spencer Horwitz, again, emergency podcast, he's out. And like you mentioned, you talk about 2 more players. Like there's O'Neill and there's Bryan Reynolds. And as far as projections go, Spencer Horwitz is probably like the 3rd best and one of the best hitters on the team. And he's out. And we don't really know what he is yet. So, yeah.
There was a report that the Pirates their main move is still yet to come, Alex. And then Ben Sherrington said he was on the doorstep of anything. Is this the squad? Is this the squad we're rolling with, or is there still a move to be made?
I expect that this is more or less the team that they have in place. I will say, I haven't had this vetted out. Pirates are in on a player that signed not that long ago with a different club, so that maybe they're not completely done adding to the club, but I think it's more likely this group of individuals is more or less the team they have.
No, I gotta find out.
Group of individuals was a great way to put them.
Thank you.
You're a wordsmith.
Well, that's
Justin
why they pay me
Turner.
the big bucks.
Justin Turner.
I purposely didn't say the name.
I mean, I would have been okay with that over Tommy Pham. At least he's 40 and can still hit.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it was Tommy
Well, I'm
or
just-
not Tommy, Justin Turner, or it wasn't.
But Alex,
In the
hypothetically,
same way that I wouldn't say any player that you throw at me.
but hypothetically, if it was Justin Turner, at least they can hit.
Good
Yeah.
point. It's a good point, Tyler. He can hit.
Thank you.
Actually, what might make the Red Sox need to piss off Rafael Devers enough so that
Yes.
he demands a trade. And who's better to trade with the Red Sox?
Bring me back to Ben.
Than Ben
There it is.
Sherrington. Yeah. Let's have a reunion, a Rafael Devers, Ben Sherrington reunion. Let's make
Who is
that
the
happen.
man who believed in me whenever I was an international free agent?
How do we sabotage Boston's they're in Fort Myers, they're not that far. We could probably like do some Black Ops type stuff here and sabotage their spring training in a way that forces Devers to the Pirates.
I've seen what FSG has done to the Penguins. They don't need any outside sabotage.
Let's make it happen.
R.I.P. Mike Lang. You would
Next
have
week
loved
when
that
we're in
joke.
Bradenton. Next week when we're in Bradenton, our goal is to hammer that wedge in between Boston and Devers. That's the plan.
Let's literally create a wedge in third base. Like it's non-playable. Nobody can play at third base. How about that?
So what you're
That would really piss him
saying?
off.
So what you're saying is Rafael Devers' brother and dad is going to start making tweets.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
Only if the Pirates fire his hitting coach.
Okay.
And actually, his cousin's with the Yankees, right? I think we're not far from the Yankees either. We can really get things going.
What would it take to get Aaron
Jose-
Judge in here?
Jose Devers? Is that the other guy? So with the
Alex,
Guardians.
Would you rather be in the Pirates clubhouse right now or just be a fly on the wall in that Red Sox clubhouse? Because that would be awesome. Those guys- That's got to be so much fun to just listen to the gossip.
That's true.
and
There's
hear
no
about-
drama. There's no drama in this Pirates.
Yeah,
spring
but there's
training,
so
I
much
feel
good
like.
drama in the Red Sox organization right now.
Well, the Red Sox are just a mess. Yeah. Netflix did their show 1 year too early.
Yeah. By the way, never mind. Jose Devers is with the Braves right now. But
Jose Devers
How's his
is with
Twitter
the
game?
Cleveland Guardians right now. So you were wrong both times.
He's already in Bradenton time.
Jose Devers has been a Cleveland Guardian since 2019, DiNardo.
I'm literally on Fangraphs right now. Jose Devers is with the Braves. He's been with Miami.
Is there a Jose Devers?
Yeah.
Where isn't
Yeah.
he playing?
He's with the Braves. What are you looking at?
Wikipedia says
He's
the
with the
Braves.
Miami. He was in with the Stanton trade.
Wikipedia says
No.
Miami.
Yeah. I thought he went back to the Yankees, but no, he's with the Braves. Regardless, this doesn't matter. But what matters is I'm
MLB.com
right.
says
What does matter is I'm correct.
Jimmy, didn't you
All right.
make up a Marlins
That's
reliever?
true.
One of
He
these
I
did.
days?
I have just made up people before. You know what I'm going off of though? I'm here. I'm gonna prove.
Did you
that
say
I'm not
Wikipedia?
crazy. I'm gonna.
Ethan says he's a Brave. That's the end of the
I'm gonna prove
conversation.
that I'm not crazy right now because I'm just saying right now. This says Jose Devers on Fangraphs, Cleveland Guardians, high A.
You're looking at the
That's the wrong
major
Jose Devers.
leaguers.
He is 21 years old.
Jose Devers is 25.
Yeah, so I'm looking at the wrong Jose Devers is what I'm doing.
I'm going to share my screen. That's
we don't need to do this. We don't need to do this. There's two Jose Devers, and I had the wrong one. Like it doesn't have to be that difficult. Yeah,
Oh,
I was.
God.
Here's the deal. I was right in that Jose Devers.
Oh my
was a
God.
Cleveland Guardian.
Anyways, all right.
We nailed it. Great
I'm not
shake,
going to
that
let
guy.
you gaslight me into the Jose Devers.
DiNardo can't read an ad. Jim can't use Google. Tyler is contemplating life for how long the Tommy Pham conversation was. This was a great show, guys.
Yeah.
You're
Top
welcome.
4 podcast, baby.
Top four
Top four.
Pirates podcast.
Top 4
in Belgium.
podcast, easily top 4 podcast.
Might be up there in Belgium.
Do we have anything else to talk about? Oh, Andrew McCutchen, back for the 3rd year, saying the exact same thing this year that he said the last 2 years, and that he thinks that this team can win. Is there anything different in Andrew McCutchen this year? What do we expect his role to be? Is it like, have we gotten to like a lineup construction standpoint yet? Like, is Kutch the leadoff hitter? Is Kutch a 5 hitter? What's kind of going around right now?
It's a good question. Derek Shelton usually tips his hand pretty early on in spring. He'll have a lineup that will look remarkably similar to something that we'll see on opening day. So ask me in a week with that. But yeah, I mean, Kutch is someone who works counts, gets on base, could see him as a leadoff hitter. He's got some pop. See him in the middle of this order. I would lean probably more towards he's somewhere in the middle.
Will he get more than like 2 games in the outfield?
It's a good line. It's a good line.
I was gonna say, does the Horwitz injury actually play into that also?
Yeah.
Because like you could envision maybe Horwitz leading off potentially, right? So
yeah, without Horwitz, I could see Kutch leading off in that time. You know, again, pure theoretical.
mhm.
As for the outfield, I don't know. I'm the wrong person to ask, Tyler. Like I was the sicko that was betting under on Aaron Rodgers' rushing yards this last year, and the line would be like 0.5. And I'm like, his old ass isn't running. You give me my money, and I won basically everyone. So I'm maybe the wrong person to ask.
It's another thing we probably will find out more in spring. Like if he gets any innings in the outfield, then there's a chance.
Oh, he'll get.
I don't imagine.
Something.
I don't
He'll get
imagine he'll
something just
much.
because you have to have the option.
I know, but I don't think he'll get more than what, like 3-4 innings.
Yeah, he'll play 1 game. He'll be pulled after 5 innings. And then he's talking to Hannah on the sidelines.
Any more than that, though, then it's like, okay, maybe
Chase
he will.
Shugart pitches.
Yeah. Wow, Colin Holderman's sick doing an interview or something like that.
Let's avoid that this year. Let's avoid any like. We don't need.
I
any
don't know how
possible-
I got away with that last year. Like I was in that clubhouse, everyone was dying. It's like, how did I get away with that?
Let's get through spring training with everyone healthy. No ER visits. No like deathly flu symptoms. Let's avoid that.
Here.
I will say someone is getting over being sick currently right now.
I thought you
Might
were
be a little more
I thought you were
inside
gonna-
joke right now, Jim and Tyler, but someone who was sick last year is currently getting over being sick this year.
Is
I
it
thought you
Neil
were gonna
again?
Other side.
Is Neil sick again?
Viruses.
Neil.
Neil
My God.
infected
Face
the
of
entire
Pirates Twitter.
clubhouse.
I swear. Neil's the reason why everybody got sick last year. Neil came to spring training and was sick, and the whole state of Florida just
It was an outbreak because of Neil.
Has there ever been an
Neil was-
outbreak in
Neil's
Florida?
patient 0.
What's that, Alex?
He had bucko fever.
Yeah. Neil's got the bucko fever.
He does. But he's currently
Is
getting
Neil
over the
really
bucko
sick?
fever.
Is Neil really
He
sick
was.
right now?
He was. I just
Unbelievable.
Oh, he's just contagious.
Unbelievable. You know why he's sick? It's because he runs so much.
Yeah.
You can't
too
your
healthy.
body's not supposed to exercise that much.
No, he's
No.
way too healthy. He needs to be more like me. Alcohol kills germs.
They use it for surgery.
This thing's gone off the rails.
I gave you guys such a nice, clean, great
We also know how
episode
much
guys,
Paul loves
40
Neil.
minutes ago.
Get dead.
Yeah. Yeah. We got anything else here? Do we want to roll out or let the people know what's kind of coming up?
yeah, I think I'm good.
First, I mean and if you missed it earlier, Mike Lang passed away. That sucks. That's super crappy. He even called some Pirates games for a couple of years.
Yeah. Mike Lang was awesome.
Yeah.
We need to drop some Lookout Lorettas and some Michael motorcycles around here.
Yeah. So that's a bummer. But yeah, we Alex, we get to see you in 3 days.
Let's
Something
roll.
like that.
Do we have to?
We don't have to.
I mean, I kind of like
At
Noah.
least we definitely will in 4 days. We don't have to in 3.
But no, what all we got going on for the next week, DiNardo?
Well, we have pregame shows for every Pirates game that they'll be at LeCon for. I know Sunday, they're off Monday, right? Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. Those are the days, I believe. I could
Is
be
that to me? I don't know.
That's out to everyone. This is top of the head, but I believe the 4 games will be there from next Saturday to the following Saturday. We leave. So again, Sunday, the home opener LeCon will have pregame, and then I believe it's Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. Correct?
Pre-game show Sunday, pre-game show Tuesday, pre-game show Wednesday, pre-game show Friday.
Okay. So I was correct.
And we'll be around the rest of the time.
We'll be around
And
the
then,
rest of the time.
Yeah, we'll have our wrap-ups every day as well. I'm sure you'll hear plenty more of Alex also next week with us. Right, Alex? Please.
Oh yeah.
Please make people think like you like us.
Oh yeah. Just keep the cash coming.
Keep
Small
the
bills,
facade up.
non-sequential.
Yes. And I mean, I'm excited. Again, we're gonna do this again. We're all excited. What's the thing you guys are looking for most next week?
Pub sub
Actually, I should have known.
No, you know what?
and a grouper taco.
I would say grouper. I need some grouper tacos or like a grouper Reuben. Give me a grouper Reuben, grouper tacos. Yeah.
Have
that's
you
what I'm
guys
most
been
looking
to
forward
Starfish yet?
I have. Oh, yeah, we all went to Starfish.
Is that the one that was on the
It's like on the water there, like on the bay, right?
Yeah, we did.
By Tide Tables.
Yeah. No,
That-
or
that's
we
right.
went, we went to
Really
Tide
cold
tables,
then.
didn't we?
Oh no, that's where we went.
We went to Tide
we went to Tide Tables. It's
It was
across the
really,
street.
really cold that night.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to try out the ugly grouper. Never been. Definitely didn't sit there while there was sewage blowing right into my face in the rain that Jim took us to. Definitely never happened. I'm
Also
really
really cold
excited
that-
to give it a shot.
Ugly Grouper is wildly overrated.
It's just a bad take.
There's your wet blanket, jag off.
Just a bad take.
But for anyone listening or watching, of course, if you guys are going to be in Bradenton as well, let us know. Hit us up. Say hi. I'm excited.
I'm gonna have so many Bloody Marys Saturday.
Yeah, make sure you say hi if you're coming to the games. We'll be doing our show. Say hi.
Giving away stickers. We got koozies as well. Be giving away. I don't have those on hand right now.
Don't say hi to Tyler.
Or
Let
Neil.
Tyler. Let Tyler
get
suck.
You guys are just going through the list. I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
gonna drink so many
Just
Bloody
so-
Marys.
yeah, no
I'm
Tyler.
gonna be so hungover, whatever you guys see.
My flight's at 6:30 in the morning. I'm getting to the airport at 3:30. The bar opens in the airport at 4.
No,
It does.
5.
I think Alex knows the Pittsburgh airport better
4.
than you.
There's a few that open at 4. I will
I'm
be
shocked
there.
he knows it.
I think you're
From a
brown
5
bagging
a.m.
it at a 4, bud.
I might be.
What are you getting to the airport at 4 for?
My
For a
flight's at
6:30
6.
flight?
I'm an airport dad. I like to be there early.
That's dumb.
Also, the Pittsburgh airport's kind of shitty right now.
I will say I was
Yeah.
way out there on Saturday coming home or Friday. Wait,
Yeah,
what
it's
day's today?
there's all that
Monday.
construction. I've heard it's terrible there right now.
It's really bad. It's really bad.
So yeah, I'll be there very early. Yeah. See y'all there.
All right.
The line moved
I'll see you
fast,
there.
but it's a really, really long line. Probably 30, 35 minutes at least.
Woof.
Be pre-check. Come on, guys.
Yeah, seriously. Get with the times.
Anywho,
They let you skip the line.
Fly once a year. I'm not doing that.
All right, let's get out of here.
we out of here?
Yeah.
Appreciate y'all watching. As always, we'll be back. I guess we'll be back Sunday. We'll see you live at Lecon Park. We'll see you Sunday. Can't wait. Excited. But do all those good things. We appreciate all our Patreon members. Appreciate all of our YouTube members. If you haven't done so, like, subscribe, do all the fun stuff. We got this cool emojis going. But we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.
Sorry, Scouts.
See you guys. All right, that wraps up this episode of North Shore 9. Thanks so much for tuning in. Whether you're listening on the podcast or catching us on YouTube, if you enjoyed the show, please give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. It really helps us grow. And if you're listening on the podcast, a quick review goes a long way in helping others find the show. Plus, be sure to tell a friend about us. There's always room for more here in the NS9 community. And for those looking to support us a little more, consider joining our Patreon, become an MVP member, and get exclusive perks while helping us continue to bring you more of the Pirates content you love. Thanks again for all your support, and let's go Bucks.